Does something interfere with your happiness? Is something preventing you from achieving your goals? I've had that happen. I've hit roadblocks, and to be honest with you, therapy helped. It really did. And that's why BetterHelp can be a great experience for you. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. Connect you in a safe and private online environment. It's so convenient. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting BetterHelp at betterhelp.com/Bob. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Bob. Thank you. Hey, it's Bob Saget's here for you. I am Bob Saget, and I am here for you. I got to read everything I do. I also use a twister set to walk around the house with footprints. I don't know how to do it. I have a guest today who I just love, and it's Eddie Izzard. And she is touring in Canada in November, the Wunderbar Tour, which is an incredible special because it's on tour with all the other specials she has done. You've got to do a deep dive if you haven't. If you are not familiar with this brilliant, wonderful comedian, I just love everything she's done. Seriously, so many projects, so many acting things that you're going to want to see. The Lost Symbol is coming out on the Peacock TV app in the States. And there's just so many things. There's a new TV series called Stay Close that Eddie will be in. There's just, I mean, the list, look at this. I mean, you do a little research, but I know a lot about Eddie. I love her. I don't know what to say. I'm going to fan out. Forgive me. I'm going to fan out. I can't help it. And she's in the middle of shooting. And this is our promotion from my point of view for the Canada tour that it's just coming up in November. And Eddie has toured the world with this. It's just amazing. It's I don't know, 45 countries, 40 countries. Eddie will tell me. And been to 50 states in the U.S. and all around all the cities, and been toured the world with speaking in French and German and English would be the primary language. But I don't know what to tell you except this is a brilliant person that I just admire. So as we start, I'll just tell you to subscribe and listen and rate and review. And also what you want to do, you can go to the YouTube page if you want. It's youtube.com/Bob Saget. With no further ado, here truly is a comedy legend. Here we go. I'm letting into the Zoom room, because we're in a very high-tech world, Eddie Izzard. Eddie.
Hi there.
I am so happy that you're doing this. Thank you.
No, thank you. Great to do it. Good to talk to you again. Last time we talked, I was running marathons, wasn't I?
You could not stop because you are saving the world 1 foot at a time.
Well, I'm not trying to save the world. I'm trying to help the world to save itself.
That is, there is nothing I could say to you, no parable, that you would not come out with something much more well phrased. I only know one language, only one, Eddie.
I know, but it's because obviously if you say I'm trying to save the world, everyone goes, yeah, there you go. It just sounds like ego gone crazy. But if you're trying to help the world to save itself, then anyone can jump in on that. That's like make humanity great again compared to make America great again. There's a lot of Americans say, yeah, we'd love to be great, but why can't everyone be great? And that's my thing of nationalism against patriotism. Do you know that difference, that slight difference in definition? The patriotism is I love my country. Everyone should have that. Nationalism is my country is better than your country. And that leads to...
That's wrong. That is what teams do against each other. We're down to all-star wrestling. It's absurd.
Yeah, and first we should be one of the greatest cities in the world, one of the greatest countries in the world. Yes, go for that. Rather, the greatest country in the world, the thing number one, this country number one, that country number that. Then we're back to the medieval period. That's what it all tracks back to. That's why I'm going into politics, Bob.
And that's why you should. And you were going to be mayor of London for a moment, and now what are you thinking of?
Well, it was either mayor of London or member of parliament. And if I went mayor, then I would have to go to member of parliament after that. And I've actually thought that I need to be inside the machine, and that's being inside parliament. Being mayor of London is great, and it's a great ambassadorial position, but it's you're not actually part of the voting machine. You don't get legislation passed in government for the country. So I really need to be in part of the machine. So it was either one or the other, and I just think I should go for a member of parliament.
And when do you plan to do that? Because you are slightly busy with your amazing tour of Canada coming up, in addition to your world tour, in addition to the special of Wunderbar, in addition to I just have to do this. I'm sorry. I don't mean to kiss up to you. I'm just lapping you up and down. You are one of the most amazing, most prolific, most intelligent, most kind. You have the ego because we have to have that to get on stage, but you are just one of the more special humans. Well, and I just adore you.
Well, I'm also, I can get really jealous as well. I do have, also really annoyed and pissed off. You usually get pissed off with plugs and things, actual plugs that go in the wall and leave.
Right.
But yes, small things going wrong. I go, what the fuck?
Right.
Why? And I have a line that we got to the moon in '69. Can we not have something that, do we not have a plug that works? That stuff like that. And
are you not MacGyver-like? Can you not fix things if they break?
No, it's interesting because I'm a lover of MacGyver. I've never really watched MacGyver, but I do know of MacGyver more from watching The Simpsons and having Marge's sisters go on about MacGyver. And I think I've seen trailers of it that he'd get this and this,
yes,
and he makes an airplane out of it and go to the moon. It's never that ridiculous, but it is, I believe, somewhat ridiculous. But no, I can't. I would like to be able to do that. Maybe everyone would like to be able to do that. I did get a Bazooka Joe because I really was a lover of Americana. So Bazooka Joe was one of our handles growing up. I had literally I Love Lucy, Bewitched in the 60s. Mm-hmm. Anything was coming out, films, grabbing hold of that. Bazooka Joe, that was distinctly American, and it had a little cartoon in each one. Yep. And then it said you can send off to this zip code. It was all very American on the back. Zip code, we didn't have zip codes, but if you sent off, you could get a ring. One of those rings that you whistled into, and then everything would happen for you. Oh, nothing, in fact. Or you could pretend you were at the dentist. But I got that. I sent off of that. I sent to America to get that ring so they could try and. I don't know. I needed to access that, and I've analyzed this down. It's on my Twitter thing that I think like an American, and I really think like an economic migrant. That's what I think like.
Right.
Let's go do it. Let's go build it. Let's go make it happen. And I love that of about the America. But obviously, in a post-Watergate, well, no. If you go back to the beginning of the Founding Fathers and the whole fact that slavery wasn't addressed in the Constitution meant that it was all going to blow up. And so I'm semi-encyclopedic on the Civil War.
Yeah, you go about 100,000 years back, basically, in what your work and your thought. Yeah,
well, it seems that I'm fascinated by us human beings, and I do think we're just here by chance. I don't think it is. I don't believe there's a mystical guy upstairs. I've seen this quoted from me on the internet where it says, if God had a plan, it's very similar to having not a plan or not having a plan. Because the plan doesn't look like anything. It's just everything happening. And why would a God say, let's have lots of, not only the true God, but lots of other people worshiping different gods at the same time? And I won't tell you which one's correct. No,
they explain it with Tower of Babel is how they explained it in the Old Testament. And then everyone learned different languages, and then Eddie Izzard learned them all.
Yeah, well, I learned 2 going on 3, and then...
You're 5 now, I think.
Sorry?
You're 5 languages, I believe. I don't
know.
No,
4th and the 5th are yet to come. Arabic and Russian are there, placed, poised, ready to go. And some people in Russia are saying, when are you coming? When are you learning the language? But I will do it. I've just been doing all these other things. I've been doing Lost Symbol recently. Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol, which has just come out in America on Peacock, and in Canada it's coming out on Showcase. and in the UK on Sky.
That's a wonderful show. I haven't watched it. I watched pieces of it because I wanted to, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a good thriller, and I love because of course, when you're acting in a drama, you don't see everyone else's scenes, and so you're saying, "Oh God, I'm working with really good actors." I already knew I was, but some of these scenes I hadn't even seen any of it, and so I'm very pleased with what we've done, and we are just finishing the last episode, and they're up to about episode 4 on the Peacock app that people in the US can download and watch.
Now, how do we get that all over the world? Does England have a similar? They buy it out separately, right?
No, it's on Sky, I think. It's sold into different territories, different things. So Showcase in Canada, which I think is not an app, but they probably have an app these days.
Right.
And Sky now have the Now app, I believe it is, which you can get that. So it's all a little bit, how that thing of the channels are all developing their own apps so that you can watch it later.
And people like that. That's no longer, prescription viewing. They don't do it at an assigned time. Yeah. What was it? I mean, it's crazy. You've been doing interviews for, 40 years. So since you're 20. You were a street performer. At what age did you start that?
Well, street performing started officially in 85. Just after I'd come out, so it was 85. Yeah, the same year that I came out. If you're trying, because I was TV when I first came out. The vernacular was TV or TS, transvestite, transsexual, and the language has changed over the years as the language does. But when some people said, "What do you mean come out? You didn't come out. You're not gay or lesbian." And so, no, well, it's and then it gets into a massive 4-hour discussion on
right. That's why I've never thought of you as anything but an amazing human and an amazing comedian and actor. I mean, so I don't put those labels on people, and it's very upsetting to me. And I know you feel the same way about the world.
It's cool. As I said, when LGBTQ hits boring, then we've made it. When you
exactly, it's like we've heard that.
Yeah. Well, they say, yeah, fine, okay, but what do you do in life? Oh, I am a librarian. Are you a good librarian? Yes. I don't care if you're a gay librarian, a straight librarian, a trans librarian. Are you good at finding the books? Do you have good books?
Right.
Yes, I do. I'm an expert. Well, that's the point. And surely, from the dawn of time, that has been the point. Who gives a monkeys about a person's own private sexuality and how they feel they are in the body, and it's what do they do and how are they helping what are they adding to the human condition?
Right. I think my only things I would ask is, why did you choose gingham? Or I love that blouse. I try to be positive. I don't understand where we're at, and you are a piece.
Oh, I understand. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. I understand.
No, please do it. It helps everyone.
I think I understand why some people are positive, some people are negative. You've got to be happy within yourself to be positive. If you're happy within yourself, you say, well, I seem to be doing okay, and I'm doing some stuff that I like. And so what do you do? Now I don't know about that. Tell me more about that. And then you come with an open hand. And if you're unhappy with your life, unhappy with yourself, maybe doing things that you don't think are good, but you're sort of pushing them down. And then you will have this kind of rage and depression, and then you look at and you want to lash out. Well, screw you and screw everyone, and who can I blame?
Right.
Then it gets the blame thing, which is the right-wing culture. Who can you blame? And it is very beguiling for a lot of people. You're sitting there and you think, there's someone to blame? Oh, that's brilliant. Now, who do I, and it doesn't really matter. Who do I blame? Just tell me who I blame.
Exactly.
Mr. Donald Trump, tell me who I blame. Is it blue people, green people, people from over there, over here? Just tell me who to blame, and can I wave a flag and then I'll blame people.
Yeah. It's so weird that I'll go to places, I'll go to cities. I know you're going to Vancouver. I actually opened the Vogue when it first came back, and you're doing 4 nights there. I think something miraculous.
Oh, wow.
In Vancouver. It's a beautiful theater. And you played there before or not?
I think so. I've definitely played Vancouver many times.
Right. Well, you played 50 countries. I don't like interviews like I just did, where I tell you what you've done and I'm wrong.
No, it's 45 countries and counting, but all 50 states of America. That's what I think.
There we go. This is
which I think a lot of American comedians might not have done. I decided to play all 50 states, including Mississippi, and what was it? No, Arkansas was a little bit. There's two Mississippian. There's one that's almost right next to Alabama.
And I would assume you were received beautifully everywhere, is my guess.
Yes, because I suppose, you'd think Mississippi and Alabama, they wouldn't gravitate towards a sort of progressive trans person from Britain. It wouldn't be necessarily their cup of tea. But of course, there are cool and groovy people living everywhere, as there were even in the Civil War.
Yeah.
Well, again, I'm semi-encyclopedic on your American Civil War. And there were a number of people who were against the idea of cessation, particularly the business people who said, guys, we're trading with them. And we've got 9 million and they've got 23 million. And the whole GDP of the whole of the South was less than the GDP of just New York State. It's going to be a really tricky thing. But the hotheads, as they call them, the hotheads are taking over. Come on, let's go. Let's kill everyone. Piles of bodies.
Let's own people.
Yeah, well, the whole owning of people, the whole dancing around it, it's just states' rights. But if it wasn't about slavery, then surely the Confederates should have released all the slaves on day one. As soon as Fort Sumter went, we're releasing all slaves just to make sure you understand it's not about slavery. And now it's just about states' rights. But they didn't release the slaves, so therefore you think it's got to be about slavery.
And this is not, the time we're in right now is a bit of a, unfortunately, sense memory of the whole thing. But it also, there's so many good people everywhere in the U.S. that are fighting amongst each other. It's like, you'll go to Texas, and you've performed in probably every city in Texas, I would think, every major city. Well,
the big ones, Houston and Dallas, and San Antonio, and what's the very cool one?
Oh, Austin.
Austin, yeah. So those 4 cities I've been and done great, I've played the arena in Dallas as well. But yes, you were saying about Texas, it's all...
I was just saying that you'll name a city in Texas to that city and they'll boo another city. Houston will boo Dallas. Dallas will boo Houston. I'm like, you guys are in a state that can secede, which again, to your point, makes no sense. And then people a block from me want to fight with the block over because of rezoning.
Well, that is everywhere, I would say, Bob. I would say Manchester and Liverpool don't get on. The closer they are, everyone hates London. London doesn't hate anyone because London can't be bothered to hate because it's doing so well. Everyone hates New York. New York can't be bothered to hate anyone because New York's doing so well.
I love New York and London.
Yes, I do. And Paris, I'm sure all of France, French cities hate Paris. And Berlin's slightly different, though, because it had such a weird history. It never was Nazi. Interesting. I encourage people listening to this podcast, go to Berlin, because I think it's like London, New York, San Francisco in the 60s, kind of. There's a flavor of that. There's sort of 60s of grooviness. It's like it's catching up because it's had its history stamped upon. And Hitler kidnapped the city because Munich was the birthplace of Nazism, and again, so they kidnapped that country, but that city, but Berlin never was big on the Nazis, and now it's back to being Berlin, the cool, groovy place. I play there in German. That's what's so beautiful.
You're so amazing at it.
It's beautiful. I'm going to tell you a joke that I do. Because all my jokes have got to work in multiple languages, so I can't do word plays, but this is what I love. And I'm talking to my German teacher, and my German teacher is actually a journalist and a documentary maker who doesn't teach German at all, but I do conversations with her, and she just tells me how to say it better. So it's kind of a wonderful relationship with Sigrun. And she said, you've got to keep this joke in, because I thought, isn't it a bit tenuous? Because it's very me-ish. It shows where I have come to in my comedy. And if people listening to this and want in Canada, they want to come and see my show, if you think this is ridiculous, then you probably shouldn't come and see my show. But here it is.
No, you should, no matter what you think of this moment.
I think you'll dig this. It goes like this. I was talking about Henry VIII, yeah? So instantly, I'm not talking about the standard subjects, but Henry VIII, King of England. So Heinrich der Achte in German, Heinrich der Achte. And I said he was very tall and fat, very groß und fett. And because he ate everything, but he had much too much disease, is what I talk about. And weil er hat alles gegessen, he had everything eaten. Er hat all die Kühe gegessen, all the cows he ate. And then I go, just do a mime of putting him in a blender. And then I said, he had all die all die Schweine gegessen, all the pigses he ate. So, and he did have a gargantuan appetite. And then I say, auch hat all die Schafe gegessen, which is sheep. All die Schafe. I said, except for one sheep, außer ein Schaf. Es gab ein Schaf, there was one sheep, was ein bisschen anders, a little bit different. War die schwarze Schaf aus der Familie, the black sheep of the family. Trägt Sonnenbrille, he wore dark glasses. Und hat 2 Jahre in Detective School gemacht. He had done 2 years in detective school. And Isaac Hayes hat ein Lied über ihn geschrieben. Isaac Hayes wrote a song about him that goes, who's the cool detective? He's known without Schaf, John Schaf, you better believe it. And so I start doing Isaac Hayes doing the theme tune to Shaft, the blaxploitation Richard Roundtree film, which is they've got to know, it's the reference point for the audience to get it, for Berlin to get it, they'd have to know about 70s films and the Shaft series, and about a third of them would get it. So I'm doing this thing about Shaft. It's John Shaft, John Sheep, but John Shaft. And it's just silly about the sheep who's the black sheep of the family, wears the dark glasses, and he's very cool, and he's a detective sheep. And it's so out there that and it takes about 40 seconds, 50 seconds of setup to get to the punchline. And I just love it as a stupid, crazy, out there joke. And about 2/3 of the audience was going, was ist das? Das ist bizarre. Yeah, it's ein bisschen anders.
But the universal thing, the worldwide thing, is the animal sounds. So that's a beauty of doing that. The following is a paid sponsorship brought to you by BetterHelp. Does something interfere with your happiness? Is something preventing you from achieving your goals? I've had that happen. I've hit roadblocks, and to be honest with you, therapy helped. It really did. And that's why BetterHelp can be a great experience for you. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist, connect you in a safe and private online environment. It's so convenient. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. Send a message to your counselor anytime. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses, plus you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. Check out the testimonials posted daily on their site. This is not a crisis line. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting BetterHelp at betterhelp.com/Bob. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Bob. Thank you. You know, I've seen all of your specials. I mean, Dress to Kill, I would say, I don't know. I know you love Wunderbar. I would imagine the latest is so spectacular, which I've watched. Yeah. And I want to see in person, actually. Do you have a favorite where you just went, this was in the zone, or are they all your babies?
No, I think they get more mature as they go on. There's a piece in my earlier show, I think it was Unrepeatable, Blue Pants and the White Swash, which my brother started looking at stuff, and he was reviewing stuff, and he was saying, that's a good piece. And it was all about what happens when blue pants get into your white swash and you put it on, and then the pants come up to the window and go, hey, and you go, no, come out of there. And you're trying to, and it's quite a good action. And I said, it's because they plan it, the pants plan it. They say, hey, pants, you blue pants, you got to get in with the white swash. Well, how can I do it? Get in with the shirts. The shirts are a bit dopey because shirts are just, I don't know what's going on, man. And then you hide in there, and then and then just come up to the window. And so it's quite active, but it doesn't have another layer to it. It's just that. And then I remember, so as the shows go on, I think it gets into more interesting layers and more, in this Wunderbar show, I've got my theory of the universe. Mm-hmm. hypothesis on how the universe works, which may not be right, because you think, well, how do I have a right to it? But everyone has a right to come up with one if they want to.
Yes, they do, and people less educated are putting out theirs.
Yeah, and I don't know. Anyway, mine is from a gut reaction, but it's interesting. I explained it in 5 minutes at the end of the show, and it's basically that there is no God, no plan. I think we're just lucky enough to be here. If that meteorite hadn't come down and taken out 75% of creatures, including all the big dinosaurs, then mammals wouldn't have come to the fore. Somehow we got the ability to talk about 100,000 years ago, and talking plus imagination really equals us. Without those two things, we wouldn't be here. And then I talk about a tiger with imagination, but without the ability to talk, explaining a new way of hunting. That's in the show, and I love it. So it's got these kind of layers. We're talking about and so this tiger explains it's better to go and get a helicopter. So this tiger explaining it. I just love the stupidity. It's still very stupid, very Python-esque stupid, but hopefully with the layered intelligence. And that's what Python did. If you think all the way up to Life of Brian and Meaning of Life, but particularly Life of Brian, which John considers the masterpiece, which probably is their masterpiece, the layers that go in there, the way they're talking about the schisms between the different religions, the fact that in there's two groups, the Free Palestine and the things against Palestine, and they all hate each other. And who is the big? Aren't we supposed to be fighting the Romans? No, let's fight each other. And that happens in politics. From the center left, the further nearer left, and the further left. Well, that fight, rather than fighting the extreme right wing, which is the fight that should be happening, because I think well, anyway, I'll flip back to politics here, but
that's okay. It's all part of where we're at, and it's hard. I don't like doing it in my stand-up, but I do it anyway. I can't help myself. But in Parliament, it's not unlike being in Congress. We had some people. We had Al Franken, and they dug into his past and found a photo. And with you, everything's out there already. They really can't dig too much.
Yeah, it is weird. And also Trump and Boris Johnson, who may be the Tweedledum and Tweedledee of right-wing politics, they sort of made it possible for me to exist, or much easier, because you say you're a trans comedian and an actor, you're coming to politics. Well, that can't be. And I say, well, look at these people. They've just done lying and racism and sexism. And yeah, I suppose. Yeah, come on in. It's fine. So I don't have to go through any hoops and hurdles. I'm just arriving with so that they've made that easier for me.
Would you have worn a wig back in the day, or
no?
No.
My sisters in the drag world, they do wigs, and it's a full-on glamour thing, and there's a theatricality about it. They really helped, I think, us in the trans world, because we are cousins, or we are sisters and brothers, because they've been fierce. This word fierce I attached to. And RuPaul's Drag Race is very good at putting a human politics behind it, to stand your ground, be proud. And now in the British one, this season, there is a woman who was born, a woman who was, there's a way of saying it, which I'm getting wrong, but she was someone gender assigned as female when she was born, and she is doing drag as well, and she's in the group. And Ru is very keen on saying, it is great that you're here. And so it's the diversity, it's the opening of the arms and saying, yeah, differences, celebrate our differences and keep going forwards in a progressive way. Yes, I always wanted to have my own hair. I just want to have my hair.
I wanted to know what it's like and I'm sure they're friends, but Judy Dench and Jim Broadbent, you did a movie.
They're great, because they worked together on Iris. So, Jim got his Oscar on that one. I think Judy was nominated. And to have them both in the film was wonderful, even though their paths didn't overlap in scenes, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I worked with Jim before, and it was brilliant that he came along to perform in that. And Judy's just fantastic. She was coming to my stand-up shows beforehand. She's just got this great sense of humor.
Right.
And I said she's very in touch with the teenage girl inside her. And when I was playing Edward VII to her Queen Victoria, we were in the makeup truck, and I was listening to Ray Charles' track, What I Say,
Oh, yeah.
And what I say, and I was playing it and I was dancing to it, and she just started dancing to it as well. So you got Edward VII and Queen Victoria dancing to Ray Charles, which is pretty groovy. And I just thought she's dancing. She's a teenage girl dancing here,
Right.
and that is the thing. You've got to be young or young at heart. The young and the young at heart are the people who will take humanity forwards and make this century work. To make the century work, we need to get everyone, 7.8 billion people, having a fair chance in life. That is my worldview, and I think it's almost the only worldview that is acceptable, which seems a bit constricting, but it's a fair chance in life, not a free life, not one that's gifted for you, but just enough democracy, enough freedom, enough access to have a decent job, to buy food for your family, to not be imprisoned for no reason, to not have an endless dictator going on, or doing this managed democracy where the opposition, anyone who says they're an opposition, immediately there's a court case against you, and so you're put in jail for no particular reason.
Or to be bullied as a child, which does nothing but create a person that wants to get back at the world if you're treated poorly. Were you ever bullied?
No, I was too argumentative. I wasn't terribly tall, but if you think about how bullies work, they look for someone who's going to be the easiest victim, or the target, I think is the word I'm looking for, and I was scrappy. I just looked like I'd be a handful, but I wasn't brave enough to stop the bullies. I do know that,
right?
And basically, fascism still exists in every schoolyard of every school in every country in the world. That's an unfortunate thing, that kids go through this sort of. It's the closest thing, is it, to fascism, where some very physically strong, mentally disturbed person is going to be causing hell to a bunch of kids. And that comes in the extreme right-wing world. And it shouldn't be existing in schools, but we try and get the rules better for schools. But yeah, so but it wasn't me. So I wasn't, essentially, I do comedy, but I wasn't a very...
You were not a persecuted person.
No, I wasn't persecuted. I wasn't full of angst. I mean, Mum died when I was 6.
Oh, by the way, I know you lost your father recently. I'm sorry.
2008. No, thank you for that. Yeah, but no, let me say this. Dad wanted to go. Dad was in his 90th year and he'd run out of missions. Dad was good with a mission. I think humans are good with a mission. And Dad, yeah, he died 50 years after our mum, me and my brother. Our older brother, we're the family that's left, and my brother said that Dad, the last happy time he saw him happy was him coming down. Dad coming down and said, "I'm going to die this year. I'm going to go this year." He didn't say that. He said, "I'm going to go this year." But he just wanted out because there was nothing left for him to do, and he could feel everything was going down. But I think he had more years in him, but he didn't want to use it. Because you've got to have a fun reason to be around. And we were going to go on train trips all around the world, but his short-term memory was going as well. So, but Dad did great. Dad was a big success story. And
it's interesting. I read that he started in petroleum, which is fascinating to me because that's anti-environmental, I would think.
Well, at the time, British Petroleum, it was an oil company. If you're looking, you come out of the Navy, you're looking for a job, working for an oil company, that's no biggie. Dad never ended up being a huge, environmental activist. I'd say that, but I don't think many people in the when did he come out? He went in 45, so he came out in 48. So 1948, I don't know how many environmental activists are saying, I'm not sure the petroleum. He was just looking for any bloody job anywhere. And he was an accountant in it, so he made it so that he wasn't even a qualified accountant. He just worked his way up the accounting thing because he could add up, and he used common sense. So he made a career, and he got as far up as he wanted to get. And and they were like a rich uncle to us, because if Dad was because we went to these boarding schools after Mum died, and if Dad was abroad during the holiday time, they'd fly us out to Dad, which was once in Abu Dhabi. He was working in Abu Dhabi, so we were flown out there. I just thought, God, they seem to have a lot of money. That's all companies. That's all companies. But
is that how you were born in Yemen because he was working there?
Yeah, he was working in the Aden BP refinery, and Aden sort of made him because it's a thing about going overseas. If you track back and work out what overseas postings were, and if you go back into the imperial European days, you went overseas if you couldn't get up the ladder back home. So you go overseas, and then there's less Europeans there, so your promotional abilities are increased. So Dad did that. I don't think he did that deliberately, but it came up and he grabbed hold of it and went for it. And they did. I think a lot of the people who were running things in Aden wanted to live the 50s lifestyle of having more money than they could spend because you're in a colony and their money was going further. And everything was cheaper, and probably the oil company was providing, there was a club and, drinks and stuff. And so it was, I think it was just sort of whining and dining for a lot of people. And Dad was saying, I'm here to work. And they were going, go on, yes, help yourself, work your backside off. So that's what Dad did. And he did great at it. So he wasn't planning for how oil and digging and stuff. He wasn't doing that.
Right.
He was just doing a job.
Your work ethic, which is insanely inspiring, it came from your dad and your mom, right? Both of them?
Well, Mum was a nurse at the BP refinery. That's how they met. And so she deliberately qualified to go out there. I think she got probably paid pretty good out there. And again, her money would go further. And then she met Dad. Dad's first wife he just separated from his first wife. So that was great. But my work ethic doesn't actually come from them. My work ethic, Dad worked and he worked solidly through, but it's not even an ethic, my work. It's I'm doing what I want to do. And Dad said, you're always on holiday because you're never doing, I think someone has defined work is doing what you don't want to do. I run marathons. I'm not sure if I really want to run marathons, but it's a positive thing and it raises money. And so that's
astonishing. How far did you run on the treadmill during our quarantino time?
That was 32 marathons in 31 days. So I was running for 6.5 hours a day and then doing a gig afterwards. That was interesting.
You did.
A gig afterwards to nobody. And I was just talking.
The gigs were great. I watched several of them.
Oh, really? Oh,
because there's a different thing when the endorphins kick in and you're exhausted. I was fascinated to see what you would be like.
Oh, wow. No, that's interesting. You're the first person I've talked to who actually saw some of them. Because
I watched them because I was watching a human test animal.
Yes, it really was. It was like what the astronauts might have done if they're trying to go into comedy space or something, And you saw me. Hopefully you saw it just because it was intriguing. Because I noticed that I was doing this, and I was literally going out and coming back and going, yes, I'm trying to stay awake for the hour. Good to do and great to run that stuff. And it's all in the mind. It's somewhat to do with the body, but really it's about 100% to do with the mind. If you decide you're going to do something, coming out as trans back when I was 23, back in 1985, that is the big thing. That if you think how much, you must be a similar age to me. I'm 59. I don't know.
I'm older. I'm 65.
Or 65. Well, you'll remember 85. So in America or in Britain or anywhere in the developed world, forget about how it was in the undeveloped world. Being in the developed world, more progressive play, but still saying you were trans TV TS back in 85 was not cool. It was seen as toxic. You're a toxic person. You're a wrong person. So to take that fight on, thinking, I know I am this. I've known since I was about 5. I'm going to tell people. I'll take the fight in the streets. I'll take the shouting and the screaming, whatever it is, and that's going to be my own personal fight for myself to give myself a little space. And if anyone else can slipstream behind me, then that's great. But that set me up to get through that. I built a certain confidence, a certain real solid confidence on concrete. And so I've tried to be, and I've found that I'm being entrepreneurial with my confidence. Instead of being entrepreneurial with money, I've made that, put my money into this, I'll bet that I'll make more money. I have got confidence. I put my confidence into initially street performing, which I did after sketch comedy, because I was trying to be a Monty Python person. And I could do that. I seemed to be able to do that. That seemed to be given to me. But I couldn't do street to save my life. And then I learned how to do that. And then I thought, I got to do stand-up because that's become the new place to be. Sketch seems to be dead here, live sketch work, but stand-up. And then it goes on to TV, nighttime TV. I can't do this. I didn't believe I could work as a solo thing. But I again, entrepreneur with my confidence. I took the confidence out of learning how to be a street performer and coming out as trans, and I put that into that. And then the dramatic acting was what I loved before I was starting to comedy. That was my first love. So I said, right, I'm going to get a separate agent and start doing dramatic acting as well as comedy. And then everything in politics is something like I was considering I was going to do instead of all this. So I thought, no, I should do the politics. So I started doing that, and then running marathons because I thought it was a good way of being positive, being trans, and run marathons and raise money. And it's a human political level. So I keep adding these things by being entrepreneurial with my confidence, which is an unusual idea, which I made up in my head, but it does seem to be what I'm doing.
One of the beautiful things about it is coming out as trans and coming out as however you want to identify. You're kind of a role model for mental health, because so many people are not mentally healthy and going through these changes, being fought with these changes.
If you take certain areas of America, yes. But then, LA, San Francisco, New York, Chicago, the major metropolitan areas are all kind of in lockstep. Stonewall came out of New York. London was doing what it could. Paris, Berlin was always on a different wicket because it didn't exist until the wall came down. But all the major cities have been trying. But Britain, I've had hell. I've had people say horrible things and fight me in the streets in Britain.
And what do you do when that happens? Do you try to have a conversation, or do you fight them?
If they're shouting abuse, I shout abuse back. I give them pound for pound.
Well, they're not going to win with verbal abusiveness with you.
The things like this tend to go, you fucking Izzard, you fucking and I go, well, fuck you, what do you go? Why you start? What? I'm just existing. You fuck you. Why don't you just? And then it's just it's two people standing in a street shouting words at each other, and with occasionally there's been fights, but are you
physically able to? Do you get? Have you been in a brawl?
I have been in a brawl, and I landed a few punches, and they landed a few. But
was it a kid you were fighting?
Yeah, it's just some guy who just kept. I realized now he'd had something to drink, but he was just going, "Oh, Tracy, oh, I'm so fine. Oh, look at me!" And I go, "Just calm down, mate. We all live and breathe on the streets, live and let live.
Yeah,
Everyone." Yeah. I was trying to do this. I gave him 2 public warnings. And then I unloaded a load of words on him, and then he went for me.
I could take any 10 or 12-year-old, I think.
Well, I just stand my ground. I try and stand my ground, and it's a tricky old world, but things have got better. It gets, for people who are LGBTQ and just thinking about coming out, itgetsbetter.com is a great website to go to, where people have left their stories about, recorded stories about how it was and how it got better, and things do gradually get better. And even though certain right-wing politicians will take things back and pull it back, but if you go back to 90 years ago, Hitler dragged things back to basically a medieval approach to life. It went that far back. It was somewhere in the 1300s or the 1400s. We're going to murder people in factory, that kind of thing. But interesting, when Konrad Adenauer took over as chancellor in 45, after peace was declared, the human rights snapped back to wherever it was, where the rest of European countries and America and Canada was, and Australia. So it didn't have to come back up like coming out of the water, slowly. Hitler's taking it back to about the 1400s. So we're going to gradually put the rights back to the 1500s, the 1600s. No, it just snaps back. And that's the beautiful thing about the world, is that when Biden got in, Trump had taken things way back, and Biden came and said, no, those things don't exist anymore. So we snap things back to, and we carry on, and America's back at the table. Let's move things forward. So that's the good thing. As long as we approach things slowly and keep moving things forward slowly, then hopefully the world will slowly get a fairer and fairer place, and we can get to, and I think this century, the next 80 years are key. We have to make it a world where everyone has a fair chance in life. Otherwise, I don't think humanity is going to make it. And I don't think, and I know there's no one upstairs looking over us, because they would have come in the Second World War. This is one of my arguments.
That's what I want to ask you. so you lost your dad, and people then, when they lose someone close, I've lost 2 sisters, I've lost my parents, and when that happens, people turn to God a lot of times. I turn to myself and to my beliefs in love and wanting to think that they're still out there in some way. But do you feel that once someone passes, that the soul is that person done? Is there any, in your mind, with the God belief of not, do you have a feeling about are they still out there like an angel?
Well, I consider myself a spiritual atheist, but seeing as the word atheist has been demonized so much, it just means a non-theist. I don't believe in I don't believe in the floaty guy upstairs. So I'm a spiritual non-theist. I believe in humanity. I believe in us. Yes. I believe in more goodwill than ill will in us. And that's just because we have chosen to put it. No, God tells us to behave well. It's within sometimes our DNA or whatever. Sometimes people have been brought up in a rough way. And so they go to people who are treated badly in childhood, they tend to repeat that back. Mm-hmm. But I don't think, my mum died when I was 6. I would have loved her to have been somewhere there over the last 50 years. I don't think so. And interesting, talking to my stepmother and my dad before they passed away, my stepmother I really didn't get on with, but they were quite sure there was nothing. And it's quite interesting.
So that helped you form what you believe?
No, it didn't help me form. I'd already decided that anyway. I just surprised
at 6? At 6 you decided? No. I decided, I was, I think when I came into my teenage years, I was probably agnostic, I was thinking, I'm not really sure about this thing. But, if you're an agnostic, you're keeping it in case there's the end of the world. And he comes down and says, were you an atheist? No, I was always never sure. Okay, you can come in. The spas are over there. And then the tuck shop is over there. And there's free beer. That's the agnostic, is just keeping your options open. And then I thought, no, there's no point. Because if there was a God, they would have come down in the Second World War. If they're not coming down for 60 million dead, then they're not coming. And I said this thing, I say it in the show, either they do exist, either they don't exist, or they do exist and they're a bastard because they're not coming to help when 60 million people are dying in such horrendous way. If you're not coming down for that, what's the point of you? And if it's the idea that you're working in a mysterious way, no, that's just a cover stick. If you look at it with if you look at the history of the world and the planet with no God being there, then it starts to make sense. It kind of is random, and then there's big rock comes from outer space, and then boom, and all the stuff goes up, and the dinosaurs die because all the weather systems have changed, but small animals can live, and we're one of them, and then we get bigger because there's less competition around. It sort of makes sense, and the accidental nature of things. I think we're just lucky enough to be here. I don't know if you've heard of the Goldilocks theory, which is that if the planet was any closer to the sun, we'd melt, and if you're further away, we'd freeze to death. So God placed us here. And I say, no, the Goldilocks thing is the inverse of that, which is that we're just lucky enough to be, this is our time. The time for human beings is, if you think about it, just the last, 100,000 years since we were talking. The cognitive revolution is considered 70,000 years ago. If you take it from the Stone Age periods, you take it from the ancient Egyptians, that's about 5,000 years ago. It's that this is our time, and then that isn't really much of a great time until you get to the Enlightenment and the Renaissance. The Enlightenment and Renaissance, say about 500 years ago, that's been the good time. And this is another theory. If there was a God, why would God say, I'm going to start the universe 13.5 billion years ago, but I won't really make it interesting until 500 years later, right.
30 just for this little, why didn't you start? I had people in my show who were going, God, we've done the big bang. Okay, should we get human rights going now? LGBT rights, equal pay for women, get that going? No, let's wait 13.5 billion years, shall we? Oh, a soft opening. I see what you mean, yes. So that's my stand-up now, is putting the thing of, why would a sentient being do that? They'd immediately bring in LGBT rights. They'd really immediately bring in skin color makes no difference, and equal pay, men and women, but I just think it's happening accidentally. Somebody pushed back on me using the word randomly, but random events happen and things progress, and then accidents happen and things change. And I think we're lucky enough to be here, and we could lose it. There have been 5 great mass extinctions on the planet, and we could cause the 6th. We could well cause the sixth unless we get to a world where everyone has the right to have a fair chance in life. And it's being blocked by individual right-wing leaders of certain countries who stir up the nationalism and say, vote for me, I'm trying to save you, and everyone else in every other country hates you.
Because they're scared, and their egos are bigger. They're mostly id.
And they've also got a lot of cash stored, and they know that if they hand it over, they not only might lose that cash, but they might be crimes, be in court and therefore have to go to prison. So there's either prison or stay there and be the king of their country, the modern equivalent, the warlord leader. And that is the problem with a number of people who've got into these positions. And so it's easier for them to stay in there and fight like crazy to try and hang on to this power. So how we get around that, I don't know. It is the question for humanity, because if we don't get to a place where there's enough democracy, enough transparency in government, right, as opposed to this opaque block thing where things are happening and with the judiciary is in control of the political parties, then we just won't get there. We seem to only very slowly learn from our past.
Well, in America, we do have a real flip and an acceleration of what people are calling the woke movement. But there are people that are trying to change things really faster than usual. This is not like the 60s. This is like a thing that's hit through culture. It's hit through films and television. It's really been a very dramatic, and when you look at it, I think in years from now, a very positive move forward, even though it hurts a lot of people to see that kind of change for inclusion and things like that, because they're losing control over their grand, past.
Yeah, it's a curious thing. I've been looking to see what is it that changed things, lock things in, positive, tolerant things, locks it in so it doesn't go back. Hitler moved things back to the Middle Ages, but it snapped back. No one thought, well, maybe we'll keep in shooting some people. I think, no, it snaps back. Trump got in and he said trans people can't be in the military. But gay and lesbian people, I don't think he brought in laws against that. So he felt he could only do so much. And then Joe Biden came in and took that away again and moved it back to a more progressive approach. So slavery, human slavery, I know criminal slavery still exists around the world, but legalized slavery as a governmental policy is not there. I think the Nazis were the last people who had that as a governmental policy. It's not considered. Even Trump didn't consider that. But I'm sure it was on his mind. Couldn't we do slavery? Wouldn't that really help? Economics. Think of the economics.
It was on his dry erase board.
I'll just take some disinfectant and off we go. But I'm interested in what stops these horrendous ideas coming back. Human sacrifice. It's the one thing that you could say everyone in the world stop doing human sacrifice. And before it was a political controlling tool of the religious powers. That's what it must have been. It came up, because no one was talking. I'm damn sure that no one was actually telling them. They could have thought someone was telling them, let's kill you, Steve, you're first, then Kenny, then Siobhan. I'm going to kill you, rip your guts out, and then the crops will really pick up next year. Are you sure? I am. I'm talking. Lieutenant Uhura, I think they did. I'm talking to him right now, and I've got the big hat on, so... It's the big giant head I'm watching Third Rock from the Sun. At the moment. I'm binge watching it, and John Lithgow and all the people in Third Rock are just brilliant. John Lithgow is a friggin' genius because he's come from a very strong dramatic actor to be able to play such a silly man as Dick Solomon. I just think he's brilliant.
Well, his role in World According to Garp, that was a revolutionary role.
Yes, and that just shows that he could play it. He played a trans woman and just boom, he could do that because he brings the humanity to it. So coming from drama, I'm interested in how that the sitcom started, because the people I've heard them talking about it, the exec producers, and they were saying we knew he could do it, but the broadcasters didn't know that he could do this. So I don't know how they knew. They must have seen him do something comedically in some role or something, but I'm not sure which role, or whether they just found him really funny in company. But
you've done some roles that have hit me so hard. You've done some wonderful animated stuff. You're in the middle of something now that's in production, right?
Yes. Which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about. Damn, your IMDb is longer than
Because
the Gideon Bible.
I don't.
Man and Witch. You're
Oh
notably.
yeah. Yes, there are some. I think there's two animated films that I'm down to do, but I'm not sure when they go into production. But yeah, there's two that I like doing those, and I've always thought it was a very good use of my comedy because I don't have to appear on it. Because I've always felt, because I never did a sitcom and I never did a sketch show on television, which
And
was
you know you could if you. I mean anything.
Well, yeah, I felt. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to do Python and then do a comedy film. I was just trying to follow that career path. But I thought, and then it just took so long for me to take off. You know, I dropped out of university at 19 and my career took off about 30. So it was 11 years of my wilderness years where I was just flailing around, but I kept pushing and kept pushing.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time, it was a very weird thing to do, but I do use my military strategy brain so that my comedy was taking off. I could feel it taking. I could actually feel it in the ether. I just knew what I was doing because it was because I was ad-libbing above all. Mm-hmm. I'd done a lot of comparing of and hosting of different nights and different clubs around London. So I was going on and going, so cheese. Is cheese, do you like cheese? What is cheese about? And why has it got holes in? Some of it's got holes in, and that's a thing. But surely if you get some cheese with major holes, then there's no cheese, essentially. And, you know, I would talk until I hit funny. And if I didn't hit funny, I would say, you people are all cheese. You don't like cheese, do you? Are you all nice? Why does no one laugh? Okay. So I found I could get jokes on the way in or jokes on the way out. And the audience began to sense that they didn't know where I was going and I didn't know where I was going. So that was this USP, the ingredient. So when I felt that taking off, I thought, okay, let's put a pin in this, because I was trying to do this for so long, get this trajectory to go up and up and up. And it was going up, and I thought, I'm going to pin that, and I'm going to level it out. I'll keep doing live stuff. I will not do the sitcom. I will not do the TV sitcom or TV sketch show. I won't do anything more in comedy, filmed comedy. I have done one or two comedies that have been filmed, but that wasn't my design. But then I said, I'm going to get a separate agent and starting doing the drama, which was my first love. And for broadcasters, for studios and for producers, it's a tricky thing. So are you making people laugh? Or are you making people cry? You know, what is the thing? Are you taking people on an emotional ride, or is you just going to laugh? And I thought if my comedy ever got really established as a live TV show, then I would be hamstrung with the comedy guy. And I realized by watching John Lithgow that it's better to come as a dramatic actor and then do comedy, and then you go back to your already proven dramatic place. Mm-hmm. That is the better way to come in. So that
I came in through comedy and then was able to do drama after that, and it's a harder road because they've already made assumptions on who you are. Yeah.
Exactly so. So that was it. And I just thought they'd go, do that thing where you go, hey, chickens are made out of chickens and pigs and banjos. and I don't do that. And when I do the roles, the great thing now is I know that I think actually if you're a comedy person, come from the comedy world, and then you're in a dramatic role, in a dramatic scene, you're trying to think, how can I make this scene really kick? You will reach for your comedic muscles and then you think, well, actually, that's not right muscles. And then you think, I've got no muscles. So my early work was not very good because I had no dramatic muscles.
Right.
I had no muscle memory in there because I hadn't done anything. So I was flailing around a bit, and people said, this is not good. But I knew I had to just carry on doing it until I could get enough experience to go, that seems to be all right. And probably the Riches series I did for FX, that was film school and drama school for me rolled into one. So
was that one of your favorite parts?
Yeah, that was a great role to get. I was there when the Riches was set up, but it was just a wonderful dive in. Great to work with those people and to work. And we were doing 45 minutes of cut drama in 7 days of shooting, which was a very tight thing. So you had to move. You had to be ready, go, commit, dive in. Because normally, I mean, on Lost Symbol, as we're doing now, Dan Brown's Lost Symbol, it's about 12 days per episode. And that was 7 days per episode, and so that was how FX got a lot of stuff going by being very lean, very lean.
How about the Ocean's movies? I would assume that was just fun for you.
That was it was interesting. It was great fun, great privilege to be there. They treated me as a cameo. I was really a bit part player, but they treated me as a cameo, which was very nice. But it was also a psychological pressure, which is interesting, because I broke into Pinewood Studios when I was 15. So really, films has been my big love for a long time.
Did you literally break in?
Yeah, I watched. This is how monomaniacal I can be. I said, I've got to get into. I like acting. From the age of 7, I saw a play, and a boy with his cart by Christopher Fry, and I saw it. I said, I've got to do this, because I think Mama died a year before, and suddenly this kid, the guys on stage were getting all this reaction, and I thought, I need this love and affection. And when Mum isn't here, then I'm going to get it from an audience. So I pushed like crazy to get into that. And then I was watching television and realized, now these films, they make these films. You can be in the film. There's a theater thing, but there's a film thing. I love the film. That's where I want to be. So I thought, I got to be in that. How do I be in that? So I'm always very logical, and okay, what do I do? Well, I don't know. I have no one. There's no one I know. No one in Bexhill-on-Sea, where I grew up. I'll watch the telly, and at the end, they have these credits. So I was writing down on a pice of paper. I was writing on a notebook, stuff on the credits. This, that, the other. Best boy. What is best? I don't know what that means. Gaffer. I don't know what that means. How do I know?
Grip. Key grip.
Yeah, key grip. There was no IMDb. There was no.
Is he a janitor? Does he hold keys? I don't understand.
What? I now know key grips, and I think they're
essential.
Yeah, essential, do amazing stuff. But then at the end of, I think it was the Battle of Britain, it says shot on location in Spain and in England, and also at Pinewood Studios, Ivor Heath, Buckinghamshire. And I thought, well, that's a place, studios. So the studios are the thing. So there's Buckinghamshire. I didn't know the geography very well. I was about 15. I went to a shop and I got a map. And then in the 70s, the maps would have alphabetically every town and city in the UK listed, because no internet, you couldn't look things up. So I went to Ivor Heath. It's a village. Okay, it's a village in Buckingham. Okay, so I didn't tell anyone I was doing this. I just took a train from the south coast to London. That's about 60 miles away. Then I took a metro underground thing up to Uxbridge, and then I took a bus down to Ivor Heath, and I got out with a large roundabout, and I said to someone, Pinewood Studios, yeah, straight down the road, mate, about half a mile. So I walked down this road, which is, it's only just cars zooming up and down it, and there's no one else there. And then there's a big gabled entrance, and I went up to the big gabled entrance and said, hi, I'm going to be in film. I'm going to work in films. I plan to be, I want to be an actor. I'm an actor. No, I want to be an actor. I'm going to be, I need to come in so that I can be in film. Can I come in so that I would need to get a job? And they said, just piss off, kid. No. I watched on television, and there's no internet, you see. And there's no, and I wrote that, and Ivor Heath, come here, and then you let me in, and then they go, no, just piss off, kid. This is the end. The stars of it, the actors, people coming in. No, and then so I walk away down this side, and I thought that maybe there's another entrance. There must be another entrance. This is a big place. So I walk up, and there's another entrance quite soon after that sort of stars entrance. And it was more of the trade entrance where, some lorries were going in, some trucks, some people and things. And I saw there was a drawbridge, and it became a bit like, I think I channeled, even though I might not have seen it at that stage, I channeled Where Eagles Dare. Yes, Where Eagles Dare had already, so I could have been channeling that. Where Richard Burton and Clint Eastwood go into the Schloss Adler, the Eagles' castle, and they go in just by talking to each other in a very, yes, we're officers, German officers, so we're going to come into this thing by not showing any identification whatsoever. So I did that, and I saw people going in that way, just marching in. And if I'd stopped, it would be lovely if I could have been stopped, and I would have gone, I'm getting sandwiches for Stanley Kubrick. Don't stop it. But I didn't know Stanley shot a lot of his films in there, and I wouldn't know what sandwiches. He wanted stuff on rye bread. My God, what is rye bread? Because we don't have the breads that you... Anyway, I didn't have that information. So I just marched in. So I marched around for 2 hours. Where am I going with this story?
You're explaining how you got into that studio, into Pinewood.
Yeah. So I got into Pinewood, and there was thing, and and Steven Spielberg broke in at 17 to Universal.
Yeah, got an office, took over an office.
Yeah, I think that's the story. I don't quite believe that it went boom, 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 and then the career, but he did get his career.
I heard he was escorted out. He did get caught.
I think he has never quite said, and then I got the office, and then I was directing films. But it was only like a few years later. He was in his early 20s when he directed Duel, which was with Dennis Weaver, which was a Universal TV movie. Yes, well, yes, go Duel for yes, but you can even wind back. There's a scary horror movie, the first ever.
The first Night Gallery. With Joan Crawford.
And first ever thing with that, and
it was a half hour of a Rod Serling series, which was fantastic.
And the first ever Columbo he directed as well.
That's oh my God. Yeah.
Anyway, so he got his career going, boom, and mine. The fates decided. I don't believe in God, but I'm going with the fates. The fates decided.
Did you believe in God ever at that time, or just no? When you were
by the time I was a teenager, I was in the agnostic. I would argue it in a court of law if it was the end of if God was coming out. It's the end of everything. That's time up for humanity. Now, atheists just go and stand in hell. So that was where I was at that point. But anyway, I just thought, with retrospect, I decided that I was being saved. It was probably the best thing for me to be saved, to be held back, because I learned stamina from breaking into the studios to going on. But I was going to say something about films and something.
Well, we didn't get to the very end of the Pinewood. What was the outcome? You spent a couple hours within there?
Yes, I was in Pinewood for 2 hours, and I kept moving. I thought if I keep moving, then no one will stop me. If you stop and go, they'll go, either can I help you, or what are you doing there? I thought it'd be full of security guards, and it isn't really, because once you're in, you're in. But so I just kept moving, marching at a certain speed, and I wanted someone to go, hey, kid who's moving at a certain speed. We're doing a film called The Kid Who Moved at a Certain Speed. Now, the main kid, he has just exploded from eating TNT, which was not a good idea. So can you speak words? Yes, sir, I can say words. Okay, words are needed in this. So you've got the lead role. That's what I think every actor, and you hear about, didn't David Niven wasn't he an extra and then was put into a major film? But, it's, I think David Niven, he definitely did do extra work, and then he was, then he bounced into things. But anyway,
Did you get thrown out? Did you get thrown out of Pinewood that day? Or
no, I marched out at the same speed that I marched in. It's just
so awesome.
But when I later went to film there, I think I got a role in the British Avengers with Ray Fiennes, Uma Thurman, and Sean Connery, which got really beaten up by the critics, but actually it's an okay film. But I was in that, and I think Jerry Weintraub gave me that role because of that story. Because they took me out they said, we're not sure we should give you this role as Sean Connery's henchman. And so they said, well, let's go and have a meal and chat. And I suppose from my knowledge now, what you say to people when you're having a chat, you don't say, I'd really like to do the role. I think I'll be a really good henchman because I was quite, evil to that guy over there. You don't say that. You just talk about how interesting you might be. And then I think this person is interesting. Well, put them in this role and see what happens. And I think telling that story was probably it, because Jerry Weintraub phoned ahead when we went back. They said, you've got the role. And then he drove me back to Pinewood Studios. So this is years later. And he'd obviously phoned ahead to the guard's office at the gabled entrance and said, look, I got this guy. He's an actor. He's going to be in the thing. His name is Izzard. When we come in, it's Jerry Weintraub here. I'm doing the Avengers. It's okay. I'm a big producer. If you could just say, when I come in, I'll wind down the window and you say, Mr. Izzard, welcome to Pinewood Studios. You could say that. That would work very well. He must have said something like that. So when we got back to the thing, he wound down the window and he says, hi, it's Jerry Weintraub. And I went, oh, yes, sir, Mr. Weintraub, in you go, mate. Yeah, you're in. Yeah, I got Mr. Izzard with me. Yeah, that's fine. In you go, Mr. Weintraub. There you sit. No problem, mate. You're all sorted. But there's you had a message from Mr. Izzard? What? Is it Harry? Is there just said Mr. Weintraub. Is the message? I don't know. What? I don't know. I don't know. What? Oh, no, is that the one that just, yeah, there's you Izzard, yeah, go in. You've got to, just get in there. Get in, will you? It was a mangled hellishness of nothing, and so Jerry White just pressed the button and the window went out back, and it was a beautiful idea that just exploded on contact and didn't really.
It had nothing to do with your past breaking in, did it?
No, it did. Well, that's what Jerry did to try and say that I broke in when I was a kid. And
I see.
That was Jerry's plan, but the security guards, maybe the person who was there wasn't the guy who got the message, or something didn't happen, or they were just idiots and they just didn't tell. Because you go, I don't know what. No, you can go. Yeah, you can go. You're with Mr. What? Oh, there's a message. I don't know. It was that kind of thing. It was all kerfuffled. But
my favorite part of your original breaking in was, no, I've got to get in. I need to get in. I should get in. I want to get in. But it was that you have to get in. It was like you were on a mission from your non-existent.
This was the mission, and it's the same mission
that you have now, probably, in a way.
Well, I'm going to link this to another thing, which is World War II. Again, I'm semi-encyclopedic on that. I would have been in there, even though I was 15. I would have got in, and I would have tried to get there on D-Day. I would have tried to be in there. But I heard about the commandos, the British Marines, the commandos, and that they trained up at Achnacarry in Scotland. That's where they did training. And if you went AWOL, absent without leave, from your unit, and could somehow get your way out with that, this is in wartime, so after 1940, after everything had kicked off. And so you're getting up in a wholly militarized Britain, and you can get all the way to Achnacarry and say, I've gone AWOL from my unit and I want to be a commando. They would say, well, you got all the way here on your own Todd, without any help. Well, you're in. Come and join us. And I heard that story and I liked that. I thought, yes, thinking out the box, just going for it. And that I heard that story after I'd done what I'd done, but I did do things like that. I have done things like that to try and get in, to get things going. Doing gigs in French is off the list. There's no reason.
That's what I have to talk to you about that, because you did Wunderbar in Paris. It was Wunderbar, right?
Yeah, Wunderbar started in French and then it's continued in German and then it started in English. So English is the language of development for that.
Now,
story.
There's two questions. One is, I'll just do the first one. So you ad-libbed a lot. It's in a lot of press, and I even knew about it before talking to you today, that was so much improvisation in French.
Yeah.
Which to me, was that for you, because you must speak French so fluently, was that just a delight? Did that just make your heart happy?
Well, at the end of it, yes, but it was 2 months there. And the first 2 weeks were hellish because my French there was a confidence there, but my vocabulary is still lacking. I'm about 75% fluent, I would say. Very difficult to measure these things. They do have a professional scale, but I find it difficult doesn't really tell your average listener what that means. But I'm saying about 75% fluent, something like that. So and if someone speaks very fast French to me, I can still go, oh, quoi? Qu'est-ce que tu as dit? But I knew I needed to just get on stage and just go. And I was doing 2 shows a night, which really increased an hour-long show and then another hour-long show. And I would just start, bonsoir, je suis ici, je m'appelle Eddie Izzard, je suis transgender, et je vais faire mon spectacle tout en français. Motherfucker, tout en français. I would swear in English and say, oui, et pourquoi the fuck pas, baby? Yeah, parce que je suis contre Brexit. I'm against Brexit. Je suis contre Trump shit. I'm against Trump shit. I am for l'humanité, for humanity, for heading forwards and making the connections and les liens, the connections entre nous. And je suis anglais, je parle français. And hopefully there were French kids there going, well, Christ, if he's doing that, I'm going to go and do something, And I know that a lot more people from, particularly going into English. We have French kids now doing stuff in English, German kids doing it in English, Scandinavian kids, Russian kids. They're all coming in because it's an international language, not because of the British or even really because of the Americans, but more because of Hollywood and rock and roll. Yeah. Those two things, which have really primarily, I would say, come out of America, even though rock and roll, you could say, also out of Britain. But the engines of those, it's those creative mediums that have made English so grabbable and non-invasionary. Because if you look at the history of them, the Hellenic Greek was because Alexander invaded all those places. And then Greek spread out as a language to which to write the Bible in, for one thing, And then before Latin came after that, and that's because the Romans invaded everywhere. And then English was there for a while because English invaded, the British invaded them. And no, it's Hollywood and rock and roll that has made it this grabbable, easy language. And English and Spanish are the two most grabbable, easy to get with ones, because they did say Mandarin Chinese was going to take off, but it's harder. I think even the Mandarin Chinese are going, yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, you got this.
Do you have a favorite? I mean, you played Madison Square Garden in the States, Hollywood Bowl. You're one of the few comedians that's sold out Hollywood Bowl, Madison Square Gardens. Now we have more and more rock star comedians that's really been coming up before the pandemic, but continued. And the same in London and a lot of places. Do you have are there places where you just went, oh my God, please send me back there again. I can't wait to play in this world.
Hollywood Bowl, Madison Square Garden are both beautiful, particularly Hollywood Bowl. It's a Greek amphitheater. The fact that the Greeks invented the way of modeling it. And then you add to that, there's actually a LA park. It's a county park. I'm not sure. It's a public park. So you can turn up there before the shows and have your sandwiches.
You mean Griffith Park or the actual at the bowl? You're saying, yeah.
Yeah. It's actually a park.
Yes,
and
it is.
In the park. So if you want to watch, I think it's 11 o'clock on certain times, you can watch the LA Philharmonic practicing and eat your sandwich. And you can just turn up. I think it's beautiful. And when I was in LA, I was looking down over the top and see the Hollywood Bowl's down there. And just to have gone and played there, because Python played there. So I had to go because Python played there. And I ran up to the back. I don't think anyone's done that. I actually did a weird opening that didn't quite work. And so I thought, I've mucked up the opening.
What was it?
Well, basically, I used to come onto stages, which are proscenium arch flat stages, and the audience could be here, there. Anyway, I'd go to one side of the long audience, and I'd take a bow there. And then I go to the far side of that and take a bow there as the audience was applauding me, and the music's playing. And then I come to the center and bow, and then we'd begin. But the way it was, because the audience fans out like that and Hollywood Bowl, I went to the front and I would basically just look to the left, look to the right. There was nowhere to move to change it. So I did a bow, and then I decided to walk around to the front, because there used to be a pool there, but now there's audience sitting there. And I went around onto the walkway and I finished my bows. And it was all a bit of a mess. It was a slightly messy beginning, the first time I played there. But I had done these marathons before, and that wasn't in my head, but I just said, well, okay, that went a bit weird, but I know, I'm going to run up to the back of Hollywood Bowl. I'll do that. Why don't I do that? And there's a street performing thing. And once you've said a thing, you have to commit to the thing. Right. Otherwise, it's a terrible failure. The audience will go, oh, you said that. Oh, it's just it's a bad theatrical moment. So having said it, I had to do it. I had to step over people's tables and things. There's a bit of stuff you have to step over at Hollywood Bowl. And then I started running. I thought it was 5 levels of Hollywood Bowl. It's in fact 7 levels. And so by the time I got up to the 6th or 7th, I was going, oh, this is too far. And someone took a really good snapshot while someone else was taking a flash as I was coming down. And I'm pretty good running back down. And I'm quite happy because I'm running down, haven't got to the top.
Right.
And that's a photo which I think I put out, I retweeted out. But that was fun. So that's a beautiful place to play. Madison Square Garden it's a bit of a barn to play, but it's great. The name, the cachet of playing it. In Paris, it's l'Olympia, the Olympia where Edith Piaf played, and Jimi Hendrix and Bowie and myself and a lot of Jack Brel, and they told me, you have to play there, you have to be at Olympia. And I did it tout en français, and it was sold out. And I'm somewhat well known. I'm known as like a sort of a cult performer in France. We sold out the final tickets, about 1,000 seats, and we sold about 1,200, something like that. We sold out the final seats about 2 hours before the show. So it was just packed, and it was a great show. And that was beautiful. And in Berlin, just playing anywhere in Friedrichstrasse, just playing these places. It's just, I just love going to these cities which have such a lot of history, and then do it in the language. And then in Madrid and Barcelona, every night I would snap into it and say, Madrid, buenas fucking noches, baby. Yeah. And I love swearing. I do swear.
As do I. I can't help it.
But everything else is in Spanish or German or French. That's how I keep it.
And I want to digress really quick, which to the Pythoners. So you're kind of an honorary member in a way of Monty Python, who you looked up to so much.
I would like to think I am, but I think they go, could you stop annoying us, please? John called me the Lost Python, and I thought, and people were reporting this. And so I went and saw his show, and I said, John, did you actually call me the Lost Python? He said, yes, I did. I thought, oh, he did actually say that. Wow, that's amazing. And then I forgot to ask, what did you mean by that? And I think what John means is that I'm lost in time, because I really am like a child of them. And I watched 7 out of 10 of their shows when they played all 10. The first 3 hours in Texas, talking about Texas, I was touring in Texas and saying, I love Python. They're there. I want to be there, but I'm doing this tour, so I have to finish it. Then I came back and went to all the 7 nights that were left. And I'm just a huge fan. And I said to them, all of Python were there right at the end. And it was just all of Python and me and the manager and promoter. And I just said, seeing as you're all here, I'd like to say thank you very much for my career, because you gave me my career. And then Terry Gilliam said, yeah, we want it back. We want our career back. Your career back. Thank you.
They're so special what they've done. And it all happened at the same time what was happening here with Saturday Night Live beginning. Well, they were pre that with everything. And Eric Idle, Eric's a friend, and he was on this. He actually came to my home. He's one of the few people that wasn't on Zoom. And he's just such a special, beautiful person. It
is. And I mean, Eric has written songs that are iconic and will go on forever and ever and ever. And it's not just Always Up on the Bright Side of Life, but there's loads of them in there, which are really special. The Galaxy, is it called the Galaxy song? Yeah. Just a beautiful song and great lyrics, and the Philosopher's Song. There's just stuff that he's come up with down the ages, and it was an amazing mix. And I'm definitely an encyclopedic on Python, and I just so I would love to have been in Python. I would love to been there. I would love to follow them all the time, but I would just be hounding them. So it's I feel I need to not bother them too much, but I just think there's Mount Olympus, there are comedy gods, Python are out there, and they are the main influence on my comedy career. The other is Richard Pryor and Billy Connolly. I would say Billy Connolly for the chatting, the casual chatting to vast groups of people to say, have you noticed that this, and just having this very personal way of chatting and telling the stories. And Richard Pryor for the amazing character where it's have people talking to each other. And because I have lots of characters talking to each other because it came out of sketch. And I thought everyone does that in stand-up, but very few people do it in stand-up.
No, they don't, right? They're monologists or one kind of personality. But Richard also, and he was one of my mentors. I was lucky to do a movie with him once. And he was a person that became so real. He was more real on stage, I think, than he would be in his life at times.
That's interesting. Explain that a bit more.
Yeah, well, he would say the truth of what he had gone through. He would embellish it and make a joke out of it, like when he caught himself on fire. The punchline was, what really happened, I'll tell you how that happened. Didn't bring up freebasing. He said he was putting a chocolate chip cookie into milk, and it was a chain reaction, and it exploded. So that was his, and that's what I love about comedy. That's what I love about you. That's what I love about the Pythoners. There's an intellect. There's a reason to tell the story, but then when you add silly, it just it makes it so it cuts through everything. Because the silliness with intelligence and truth and pain.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I talk about pain. Well, I talk about dad, mum. I don't know. I don't know if I ever get very raw about painful things in my life, but
But you're talking on a level about things that are painful. You're just not you're not going there yourself. But I mean, you talk about a lot of real shit. I mean, it's universal.
Especially in the last show, I love talking about mum and dad, mentioning them in it, and the fact when we got to Northern Ireland, this beautiful thing which never came out from my dad, but when we got to Northern Ireland, we sounded like this. Our mum and our dad from the southeast of London, but they came from sort of somewhat rural kind of backgrounds, but they'd learned to speak a kind of neutral English, with their education, I'd say. But when we got to Northern Ireland, accents were more like this. So when we were living with these kids, they were talking like this. So they were and saying, "Who are you? How are you doing here?" And we obviously said we're from where we were born. I don't think at that age we knew where we were from, Yemen, and we'd spent a little time in England. But after a while, we were talking like this. And I have this bit in the show, which I love, this section, this scene where we arrived and I said, "Mummy," I was fixated with sugary drinks. "Mummy, can I have a glass of lemonade? Can I have another glass of lemonade? Can I have several glasses just lined up, stacked up?" And then after 6 months, I was coming and going, "Mother, can I have another glass of lemonade now? I think lemonade would be sufficient to quench the thirst of this child here in the negotiations to you as mother and I as child, and this symbiotic relationship sort of here." And then my dad said my mother was, and I said, freaked out. She was freaked out by this. Because if your parents are sounding like this and your kids are sounding like this, people say, "These are not your children. These are Northern Irish children. You are English parents." So we were told we had to speak English in the house. Now, I don't remember any of this. But my dad told a guy called John Taylor, who emigrated out to New Zealand. So with my ambition and pushing and playing different countries, last time I was in New Zealand, he told me this, just accidentally. But it was a beautiful story. He said that Dad had told him that he would listen through the front door and he could hear me and my brother talking to other kids outside the door of the house before we stopped playing with them. And say, "Right, see you tomorrow." And I'm, "Okay, I see you. Yeah, no problem. All right there." And then we'd come in and go, "Hello, can I have a glass of lemonade now?" And so we would code change, we would accent change at the front door. And we would just do that automatically because as a tool, to survive with the kids, you better sound like them. Otherwise, really, how are you? So I was talking like this for 3 years, and then that changed. But I like that, and my first adventure was with Mum. That thing, big Mum saying, "We're going to go shopping, and you're going to go on the bicycle, on my brother's bicycle." Yeah. Oh. So it's great to get into those kind of stories. But yeah, Python are the Olympian gods on Mount.
Well, I just wanted to first think, I had one last thought, which was you were talking about how humanity can get through this time. And, it's really on the bubble if they don't move forward and get rid of all this insanity that they're allowing to vivisect us all. I always feel there's an underlying love behind everything you do. And people don't bring up love because it's very cynical now. There's many people that are, I actually said something like on Twitter that if the Beatles said all you need is love now, a lot of people would just go, "Fuck you." That would be the response. And I did get that. I put that tweet out and people were going, "Fuck you." They're rejecting love.
No, but it's a minority rejection. I still think love is in play. And we have to find if there is enough love in our countries, in our continents, and in our world. Mm-hmm. Is there enough love? Because that is the connecting thing. It even comes with animals.
Absolutely.
you hear about, I mean, adults being, a person and their pets, that absolutely love that. And when a pet dies, people can be absolutely in tears and ripped apart like having lost a child. We need to find if there's enough love in the world to get humanity through, because no one's going to come down and save us. But I even heard of a wonderful story, and this is a true story, and you can look it up on the internet, of a leopard. Now, I think it's in Pakistan. It's a leopard in Pakistan. Leopards are dangerous because they're not any big cats and they're dangerous, but they can actually climb up on trees. They can get into your room and they will come and hunt at night and kill people. They're looking for food, so they can break into your house. And now a leopard was found sitting in a field. It was always coming to the same field. And the people of this Pakistani village, interestingly, they didn't shoot it or chase it away. They called the animal specialists to come in and deal with this, which I thought was very enlightened of them. Anyway, these specialists came in and they were doing night camera shoots of what was going on, trying to study it, as opposed to, just come in big net and things. And they found that the leopard was sitting with a cow, a bull, which is called an oxen, like an oxen or a cow, beast with horns that we would call a cow, but of course it was a female oxen.
But it was an ox or oxen or ox. Yeah. It had horns because
it had horns, and it's on there. If you go on there, like you can find it. So if you go leopard and oxen, Pakistan or something, you'll get the story come up.
Right.
And it was just sitting very quietly with the oxen, and all the other cows in the field were hiding down the other end. And what they feel must have happened was that this leopard must have been, as a cub, has lost its mother and found the oxen, and the oxen allowed it to suckle from herself along with her other babies. And so the leopard had survived, and then the leopard had gone back into the wild, but would come back and visit her surrogate mother, or his or her surrogate mother.
That's a metaphor for everything.
Yeah, that's one thing to look up. There's another one I should show, which shows almost the struggle of humanity within animals. And this is a beautiful one. If you put in wildebeest and lions and crocodile. I think it's either it's buffalo and lions and crocodile. So it's either buffalo or wildebeest. So it could have been buffalo, I think. Anyway, so there's a herd of, I think it's buffalo. So there's a massive herd. You've got these, it's obviously in South Africa, because you can hear the guy talking, who's leading it, he's talking to a family, and they're filming it. So it's quite a steady camera work. It's about 10 minutes long. And you see the buffalo come along, and they're talking in between, doing commentary, but it's just, it's live and really happy. So big load of buffalo coming in, and it says, can you see the lions are there? They're just, they're sitting waiting. And so the lions had come in and stealthily come in, using all their Pilates skills to get in, and they just lie there and wait for the buffaloes just slowly walking through it. Now there's a huge, obviously a male buffalo at the front, king buffalo, he's a big beast there, and that's there. And then suddenly, when they get close enough, they realize something's wrong. The lions are moving, boom, boom, boom. They grab the buffalo are scattering, and they grab a small buffalo. They drag this buffalo down the thing to the river, and it's dragging. So the small buffalo's having a hellish time, and the lions are getting in there, they're trying to rip it apart, and suddenly a crocodile comes shooting out of things, grabs hold of the buffalo. So it's now the lions and the crocodile tearing apart a small buffalo, and you go, oh my god! And then while that's all going on, the big buffalo, who has scattered with the others, is now coming back. And say, look, the big buffalo's coming back. So he's coming back, and then. So the lions beat the crocodile, because there's about 4 or 5 lions, and so they pull the buffalo back out. So they're now going to tear this buffalo's obviously hellish stuff, but the crocodile's out of the picture now. So it's just lions and buffalo, and then the big one's there, and he's summoning up his courage. He knows, I'm a big guy, but there's 5 of these, and he's going for them, and he's going to them, and the lions are just shooting up into the air, and then the other buffalo, they're all coming back. And it's like, they win, they get the buffalo free. And it's an amazing story, because what it is, it's the townspeople. But it does feel like the buffalo represent, I mean, it's almost like Mother Nature painted us a story. And I don't know how you because so the buffalo are the townspeople. The big buffalo is their mayor, the main leader of it. It just happens to be the biggest bastard out of all of them. The lions are the Nazis. I'd say the crocodiles are the Nazis. The lions are some other right-wing group, who are just going to tear you apart. And in the end, all of them are foiled by the people, the buffaloes having enough courage to come back and fight the fight, to stand up and be counted. And that happens in human life.
Yeah.
And what horrible dictators and twisted leaders try and do, they try and separate people out, and so that all the leaders go. So if you didn't have that main leader there of the townspeople, then maybe they wouldn't have come back. And then they try and find those, pull them out and put them in prison for no reason, which has been going on since the dawn of time. But it's a natural metaphor,
that whole story, for what we're going through right now. And you were just about to say, I'm so sorry, we have to find.
Yeah, we just have to find a way. See, crime doesn't pay, but it does if you take over a country and then in a criminal way start edging the laws around, because the laws say what are crimes or what are not. But if you can change the laws so that you can do things which should have been crimes, but now they're not crimes, or force people to vote in that way, we've got to get to a place where that can't happen, and it's really tricky. But that's the time when crime plays. There's so many people who've become dictators who've just stayed there long time and then spirited money out of their country and put it into Swiss bank accounts. Could Switzerland please not do that? I mean, that would be great if everyone in the world could not do these offshore bank accounts. But I don't know how you persuade them to do that, because they sit there going, well, it's the way we make our money.
They can't. Chocolates, though, I mean, they're a close second.
I know, we need to do it. Chocolates and clocks. Could you just do chocolates and clocks? But, all these other Canary Islands, whatever islands it is, with offshore tax havens. And
so I want everybody to watch The Lost Symbol, which will be, when do we see that?
Lost Symbol, if you're in America, it's on Peacock right now, Peacock app.
As we speak. For the first 4 episodes have come out. It's on Showcase in Canada from today. Showcase. And I want everybody to go to eddieizzard.com, because it has everything. It has all of your tour dates. And you're about to, when you're done filming this thing, November is Canada month.
November is from Halifax,
Toronto, Vancouver, Victoria, Calgary, Edmonton, and some beautiful, beautiful places. The Princess of Wales Theater. I mean, to be a princess and to come from Wales, they're large, they have blowholes. That's all I got. It won't translate to anywhere. It won't even work in Canada.
What is a blowhole?
It's a hole in the top of the whale where water shoots out of it.
Oh, I see.
And I said it on network television, and the censor said I can't say that because a blowhole is a place where gay men have sex with each other. And I said, I'm not familiar with that. It's a hole in the top of a whale where men have sex with each other inside that hole. So it didn't work with the censor. But people are way sensitive about everything. Are you, just in finishing up, are you dealing with the cancel culture? Do you have to deal with it? Do you even give it thought?
No. I'm just going to keep plowing on, trying to be progressive, positive, open-minded, tolerant, live and let live. Well, here's the thing. What we need, there's 2 things we need to save the world. One is treat other people as you'd like to be treated yourself.
Yep.
That is, it's called the Golden Rule. It's in all the major religions. So it's right there. And I think it's the only piece of all the religions that you need to actually fixate on, because thou shalt not steal. Well, you don't want stuff stolen from yourself. So treating other people like you won't be treated. You won't steal because of that rule. Yep. Thou shalt not kill. Well, you don't want to be killed. So don't kill other people, and then people won't kill you. So if we just went for that right now, that would be great. The other thing is use common sense. Common sense is not taught at school. It's maybe a tricky thing to teach, but it is an essential thing. So common sense, and with common sense and with treating other people as you'd like to be treated yourself, with those two things, I think we could save humanity. We could make humanity work so that everyone has a fair chance in life. And we could do it this century, because 21st century, the coming of age of humanity.
Right.
This is the century in which we have to make it, because by the next century, they'll be able to invent something very tiny that can poison a country, a continent, and some pissed off and twisted person is going to release that. So let's make a fair world before then, so that no one feels they need to be pissed off. I mean, there's obviously going to be mental health. You're talking about mental health. It's a very important thing. And it can strike people in different ways. But yeah, my mental health got to a great place by coming out back when I was 23.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, who you are as a person and as an artist, I really think represents literally everything that could help everyone. The fact that you wanted to know all these languages, the fact that you wanted to make the world laugh, the fact that and acting goes everywhere, all over the world. Your work's been seen all over the world, but the fact that you sought out to make the world laugh is just a testament to who you are. And I just think I just can't thank you enough. You're just such a remarkable artist and, more importantly, a person.
Well, thank you. Parents had love at home, but there was no religion. But they both tried to treat other people as they like to be treated themselves, which is the center of what religion should be. And if you take Jesus, whose real name is Yeshua, but written down in Greek, they had to write it as Jesus. But you take Yeshua and you take Muhammad, you take Abraham, they're all probably just modernizers. They're probably just wise people who had, let's modernize this bit, let's write this down, let's get this going. The real history about how religions start is interesting. But the mythical layers of other people who come later and say, what they really meant was do this or we'll kill you. That's not what any of them said. That's not what Muhammad said.
No, that's what's wrong with all of humanity, that they're forcing their belief on you rather than welcoming you to it, because it's full of love, and all these proper rules are just great words to live by. Yeah,
some of them, yes. Treat other people as you like to be treated yourself. That's all you need. And you can go a long way. That and common sense, I think.
Eddie, thank you so much for doing this. And Canada's very lucky you're coming there next month. It's
You take care.
You too. Lots of safe travels. Eddie Izzard. That was Eddie Izzard. Someone that I'm sorry I fanned out so much. I can't help it. Everything that she has done for the past 20 years, I have just loved. So if you haven't, this is a person that you want to do a deep dive on, all the specials, all the acting work. Such an incredible talent, and, a positive thinker of humankind. And there's a lot of love there and a lot of inclusion. And if you just watch the specials. And also, if you're in Canada, here you go, because in Halifax, the Rebecca Cohn Auditorium is going to be November 2nd and 3rd. Toronto is the 4th, 5th, and 6th at the Princess of Wales Theatre, which I went down a lot of paths with Eddie I shouldn't have, because I'm just not equipped. And Vancouver at the Vogue Theatre is the 14th, 15th, 16th. Victoria, November 18th at the Royal Theatre. And on the 20th, Calgary, the Southern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium, and the 21st in Edmonton at Northern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium. And these are great dates of this incredible Wunderbar tour. And if I lived in Canada, I'd be at them. I would almost fly to Canada to see this show, because it's pretty damn great. And there's also a book that came out in 2017 called Believe Me. It's a New York Times bestseller, and I would read the damn thing. Eddie Izzard is one of the more special comedy voices that the earth has. And if you're not familiar, get in there and understand why. There is a special from Madison Square Garden. It's really a beautiful, beautiful career for an incredibly beautiful soul. So that's today's podcast. So you know what you do. You know, you know, I don't have to tell you, but damn, I hate repeating all the same crap everybody does. But you want to subscribe and listen, or you can follow. You can go to the YouTube page at youtube.com/Bob Saget. And you can rate, review, subscribe, all that stuff. And I just can't thank you enough for listening. I love doing this, and I love being able to talk to people that I have always, for decades, just looked up to. And Eddie Izzard is one of those people. So I want to thank Eddie for being part of this, and go see her tour, because you will be absolutely delighted. You will laugh and you will be educated, because Eddie is damn smart. And with that being said, I am not. So I'm sure this is what you'll put in the comments. No, you're not, Bob. Well, I'll do it first. I'm going to comment on myself, and it's self-loathing. I hope it makes you all happy. Lots of love to everybody, okay? You guys be well, and see you on the next time of Bob Saget's Here for You. I won't see you. I won't hear you, but I will see you there on the next Bob Saget's Here for You.